What's up, everyone? Michael Manotskanyan here, and we are here for one reason and typically one reason only. Your goal is to achieve financial freedom. I'm here to cut all the bullshit and tell you exactly how it is. As someone who's able to achieve financial freedom through real estate investing all before the age of 30, I've got my input, right? I've got my insights. I'm happy to share it with you guys and help you guys on your journey as much as I can as well. Understand that I don't know everything about everything. I haven't done every single strategy, every single business, everything, right? But what I've been able to do is basically, as an engineer, Army veteran, but primarily an engineer, I really think through things in terms of systems and processes and, what are the steps in reverse engineering. And if your goal is financial freedom, it comes through a very simple process. It's not easy to do, but it's a very simple process overall. Financial freedom means that you have more money coming in every single month than your expenses. That money that is coming in is not attached to you working for $1 per hour. It is coming in passively through your assets that you've invested in. So basically, you earn money, you save it, you invest in assets, and then those assets spit back, right? They distribute some type of cash flow, returns, whatever, and that is what you live off of, and you never have to work during that period. So it makes work optional. That's kind of a better phrase for it than just full financial freedom, because a lot of you guys are similar to me where you do get a lot of passion and you have a lot of drive in the work that you do, especially if you're helping other people in your journey. There's a lot that comes with that, and that's why I don't stop working. That doesn't change the fact that I never have to work another day in my life because my real estate portfolio produces far more income every single month than my expenses. What I will say is the term passive income is a little disingenuous because there's kind of no real passive income, because at one point or another, you're going to have to put in a lot of upfront work and financial investment to be able to acquire those assets. And then over time, when they're stabilized, right? If I've got to look at 50 deals to be able to buy one that's a great deal, well, I don't think anyone would inherently say that is passive, right? That took a lot of work for me to do, to analyze 50 deals. And then you buy it. Let's say you're doing co-living like I do, you renovate it, you furnish it, then you get it rented out. Well, that period takes a lot more effort. However, once it's stabilized, it's fairly straightforward and easy. Takes very few hours every single month to keep a property operational at that point, especially if you've developed the right team and the right systems, so you're not wasting all this extra time. So when we say passive income through real estate, there really is no passive income. The closest one is like capital partners, those who have money, who partner with operators like myself, and we go find the deals, we operate it all. That is the closest thing to passive investing through real estate. However, at the end of the day, when we talk about generating passive income from your portfolio, understand I'm not trying to pretend that I do no work at all ever for real estate. We have to. It's just for a few hours a month, I'm making tens of thousands of dollars a month in cash flow. It's a pretty fair exchange, and I think you'd agree with me. And the majority of the time and effort that goes into every property you buy is at the beginning, right? When you're going to buy a property and then you're stabilizing that asset. So we're going to focus on today is going back to what I was trying to mention, which is the goal is financial freedom. And I assume that's the case for most of you guys. Whether you right now don't even have enough money coming in that you're able to save every month, or you don't want to be as active as I am, right? Like being the one to find the deals and operate them, or you want to do everything that I do to the level that I do it. Either way, if your goal is financial freedom, it comes from owning assets, regardless of where you're starting out. And my whole goal is to help you guys on your journey, whether you have less income, whether you have a lot of income but want to be less or want to be more passive, or you want to do everything that I do. That's why I've created the Real Estate Freedom Roadmap community for you guys to help you regardless of where you're at in your journey. So once again, that is the Real Estate Freedom Roadmap community. I'll drop the link here for you guys. And it's got tons of free trainings. Well, more importantly than that, I'm doing every once in a while, I decide to do a webinar, a challenge, some kind of free event to help you guys out in your investing journey. And I'm doing my next 3-day co-living challenge. We call it the Co-Living Freedom Challenge, which starts next week. I'm going to share that link as well if anyone would like to register, but that is basically the step-by-step process of why should you even invest in co-living? how to find the best co-living markets and what types of properties are the ones that work really well for that. And then how to actually analyze those deals and make smart offers. For those of you that want to ask questions, go ahead and drop them right now. Please drop any and all questions that you have right now in the chats so I can look at them. I'm going to do a little bit of training and show you guys some stuff. And then I'll answer all the questions, and whatever I can't get to today, I will answer throughout the co-living challenge as well. So it really helps me out because the goal is to make sure you guys are well equipped for your investing journeys. So it's beneficial when I know what are the things that you might be struggling with, so I can help you with that. All right, I'm going to share with you guys a few key things, starting with the Real Estate Freedom Roadmap community. I just want you guys to understand how much tools and resources you guys have available to you if you are serious about investing in real estate. The reason why I mentioned and kind of go on and off about my real estate investing, or like my engineering mindset, reverse engineering, and all of that stuff, is because my goal, and I'm not surprised that I've been able to achieve my financial goals as quickly as I've been able to achieve them. I mean, that's disingenuous. I have vastly, greatly surpassed any expectation I ever had in my investing journey. Like I'm 10 times that, if not more, way past my original goals than where I'm at now. But it's also not very surprising because, like I said, I reverse engineered the process and realized very quickly, if I wanted to achieve financial freedom, it comes from owning assets that generate that passive income. So my goal then should be, how can I buy the properties that would set me up the best for passive income in a shorter time frame? For example, how can I buy properties that make me way more money and that are not like insanely impossible to find? For example, you can go and find a lot of long-term rentals to go ahead and buy right now, but if they're only generating you $50, $100, $200 a month, that's going to take a ton of those properties to be financially free. Well, on the other end of the spectrum, right? So on the other end of the spectrum, let's say you want to do an RV park. You keep hearing RV park, mobile home parks. They make so much cash flow. That is awesome. However, they're not as accessible to find. What that means is that there are much less of them. In general, there's only 10, 20,000 RV parks. Half of them already owned, especially by institutional buyers. So there's 10-ish thousand of them ever available. And now you're competing with a bunch of investors who are trying to do that. These are harder to find, harder to structure, harder to analyze, harder to fund, harder to manage and operate as a whole. So they might make a lot more cash flow. Like one RV park might make the same cash flow as 100 single family homes. However, it's way more difficult to find, fund, and operate. So it's been the balance of the two, which is why I've created what I call my super investor blueprint, the 3 C's, which starts with co-living, then leveraging creative financing to make those deals way better and make my ability to scale way more quickly, and then capital raising, my ability to raise money to fund those investments so that I'm not limited by the amount of income I earn through a job to buy great deals. I focus on co-living because I think it's the most fundamental piece of it, regardless of where you're at in your investing journey. The creative finance and capital raising enhances that, especially if you're a buyer, but it all fundamentally starts with co-living. Why? Because one co-living property can make 10 to 20 to 30 times what a single family home can make. We have various co-living investments that are making 1,000, 2,000, almost 3,000 plus in cash flow, even after accounting for reserves on a property, under like a reserves balance, so like another 1,000 to 1,500 set aside for reserves. Understand that almost all the deals I buy are creatively financed, which is why I get such high cash flow and such high cash on cash returns. So understand that I'm not just buying any property traditionally using new down, 25% down payments, 7-8% interest rates, right? I'm able to take a property that may make $1,000 traditionally and make it make $2,000 or $3,000 through creative financing. And the difference is then I fund it using other people's money, because I could buy as many of these as I want. But it all starts with co-living. You can make way higher cash flow, but it's also like than a long-term rental, way more consistent income than like a short-term rental or mid-term rental. And then compared to an RV park, which can make even 3 to 5 times as much as a single co-living home can, well, they're way more accessible to find, analyze, buy, and operate co-living deals than there are RV parks. I'm not saying you shouldn't buy RV parks or mobile home parks. You should do whatever makes the most sense for you. I'm just saying, for me, as someone who's very diligent about the numbers and diligent about, is this worth my time and effort? Is this the best activity I could be doing? Is this the right level of leverage that I should be focused on? Those larger assets don't make a lot of sense to me relative to the ability to just buy solid amount of co-living deals. The time and effort someone might take to potentially go buy a single RV park, by that point, I bought 5, 10 co-living deals. Why? Because they're just single family homes. There are like tens of millions of single family homes out there. And there's at any point 1.5 to 3 million single family homes for sale. I'm not saying you got to buy all of them, but they're literally everywhere. And there's so many opportunities, and I could choose to buy those traditionally with new debt, creatively, whatever. So my whole goal is to help you guys understand and learn as much as you can about co-living investing, whether you are a buyer, you are a capital partner, or you are someone who's trying to focus on active income through wholesaling or bird dogging. That is why I've got the Real Estate Freedom Roadmap community for you guys. And I'm going to share that real fast. I've dropped the link, I think, a few times. Drop it one more time. And you get to ask any questions and, whatever. You get to hang out, ask questions. Oh, cool. There's a whole classroom of trainings for you guys. This is also where we house the Co-Living Freedom community. That is a paid community. Bird dogging, right? Active income people. We will have a passive investing one as well as an active investing one, but this is what you guys get access to right now. Actually, it looks more like, let's show what it looks like for you guys. Like this is what it would look like for you guys. And then if you want to join the Co-Living Freedom community, you're more than welcome to. It's the best value, extremely top-notch, high-quality education laid out in a step-by-step roadmap. I guess I could show you real quickly. Literally laying everything out for you step by step by step, and then providing you live weekly support calls to help you on your investing journey. Whether you get stuck with deal analysis, property renovations, property management, it's all there for you. This is also where we house the VIP for the Co-Living Freedom Challenge that we're about to host, as well as all the free stuff for the Co-Living Freedom Challenge. Why do I say that? Because we're about to launch the next Co-Living Freedom Challenge next week, April 28th through 30th. So if you'd like to register for that, please go ahead and do so. There you go. So please feel free to do that, because we're going to cover over 3 days, all for free. If you want to upgrade a VIP because you want lifetime access to the recordings, a bunch of bonus co-living tools, and like the super investor deal analysis calculator, various checklists and other tools and resources, and live daily Q&A, we're going to be covering these 3 topics: why co-living is the best investment strategy, finding co-living markets and properties that work, and then analyzing co-living deals so you can make smart offers. All that will be available to you during the 3-day co-living challenge. And you need to be part of the Real Estate Freedom Roadmap community to get access to those various tools and resources. So feel free to join if you'd like. It's up to you if you want to join the free 3-day co-living challenge. Otherwise, you're more than welcome to I guess not, right? See you at the next one. The problem is I don't do them that often. That's the hardest part. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to share with you guys for a couple minutes, a couple things about co-living, a couple examples of deals and things like that as a precursor for next week. So let's see. Right. So the various ways that you earn money in real estate, cash flow being number one if you want to be financially free. And then there's other wealth benefits. We're going to skip a lot of this stuff. This is true for every investor, that your number one goal is to increase cash on cash return. Whether you're a buyer, you're trying to make sure your deals are getting massive returns. You're getting a ton of money back for every dollar that you're investing. It's true for a capital partner, because the better the deals that you're partnering on, the more security you have in those deals. And especially when it's a co-living deal that's making thousands of dollars a month and it's situated in a major market, if and when something goes wrong with the operator, you get to take over a great asset that you would have otherwise been happy to be an owner of. And it's also true for bird dogs and wholesalers. If your deals that you're trying to sell have more buyers and have way higher returns, then you're able to sell those deals and get much higher assignment fees. I've paid $20,000+ to bird dogs and wholesalers on specific co-living deals because the returns are still justified for me. We're going to skip these exercises. Yeah, very simply, you guys should know, hopefully at this point, co-living is just buying a property, renting it out by the room. Typically, you're not able to find a deal that makes sense. You're not going to go buy a property up front that makes sense, like the way it's currently situated. You're typically going to convert the common areas into bedrooms. So you're going to find like a 4-bedroom, 3-bath, 2,500 square foot property and convert the living room, the office, the dining room, the game room, all those things into additional bedrooms, as long as it makes sense to do so. So why invest in co-living? Well, way higher income, way lower vacancy because you have individual tenants that are paying the rent in the house, not either the full house is vacant or it's rented. You're splitting that between a variety of tenants. Way more accessible to start and scale, like I was saying, compared to RV parks and mobile home parks. And you get to provide affordable living for your tenants. As investors, that's not our number one goal, but that's a major bonus. That's a major extra value that we get to say with co-living that we can't say with anyone else. Let's skip this just to show you some of the layouts and the conversions of some of our properties. Yeah, why co-living outperforms other single-family homes? Well, because co-living both generates much higher cash flow like short-term rentals. However, the income is consistent year-round, where some of our short-term rentals are making, $10,000+ a month during peak season and then literally making $0 a month during the slower seasons. Well, with co-living, it's literally the same thing basically all year long. Compared to midterm and long-term rentals, it's way higher cash flow, and it's also just as consistent of income as a long-term rental would be. Here's an example of a deal. We're going to be going into so many deals next week, so I'll leave that for you guys. We're going to go over a lot of this stuff. Let's see. What do I want to share? I do want to share this one. So co-living, the super strategy, right? Co-living is the best because it has way higher returns, way higher appreciation because we're buying better properties in better markets. We're paying down larger debts. So the tenants are paying down our loans at larger amounts. So we're building wealth more faster, more quickly. Because these properties are worth more, there are much larger tax benefits as well. And like I said, we get to help solve the affordable housing crisis. There's way less competition and higher accessibility right now because you're competing with less investors who just don't know about this as much. And you're competing with much less homeowners because they're not really looking for, most homeowners are looking for that 2 or 3 bedroom starter home, not that 4+ bedroom property that tends to work much better for co-living. So you have less competition from investors and retail buyers. Well, when interest rates go down, retail buyers are probably going to buy bigger houses. When co-living becomes more and more common for investors, they're going to be doing it more frequently. So you're going to have more competition from investors. Well, the earlier you learn these skills and you actually implement them and buy these properties, the more quickly you're building kind of that layer between you and like the next couple generations of co-living investors. And when you're buying in these bigger, better markets, you also have better access to property service professionals like handymen, cleaners, people set up the furniture, property managers, all that good stuff. So with that being said, I want to quickly share again. If you want to be part of the challenge, we're going to really dive into all this stuff for 3 days. Here is the link. We're going to go over literally everything, but I want to know what questions you guys have. I'm going to do my best to answer everything live right now, but I'm also going to capture this and make sure that whatever I train on next week is also inclusive to these kinds of questions. One thing that you'll see from me primarily is I focus much less on teaching operations, like, property management, how to handle tenant disputes and those kinds of things. Why? Because the majority of you don't even have a co-living home yet. So the most important thing you could do and should do is learn why you should even invest in co-living, if it even is a good fit for you, And then where is the appropriate place for you to get started as a co-living investor? And then if you're going to buy co-living, all right, well, what markets are you going to invest in? What properties are you looking for? And then how do you analyze those deals? How do you make good offers on those deals? Because you don't operate or manage a property until you own it. So I need the majority of you guys to focus on understanding acquisitions, buying these properties, and then the additional focus area is operations. Especially because a lot of you guys should be doing what I recommend that you do, which is outsourcing management to property management professionals who are literally is what they do every single day. And if your deal doesn't justify, if there isn't enough money to be able to pay a property manager, you're probably not buying a good enough deal. So great, find better deals. That should be your focus. So I'm trying to help you guys do. And then sharing with you that every single resource that you will need during the challenge will be in the Real Estate Freedom Roadmap community. It will all be listed there for you. So everything that you need will be in here and will be accessible during the challenge. You need to be part of the community so that I can reference all the various tools, the calculators. Let's see what this guy, it's draft mode right now, but like this is from the previous challenge, right? Day 1, day 2, day 3. The various homeworks, the accounts that you need to set up, right? Everything that you set up is also free for you to do throughout the entire challenge. If you want to upgrade to VIP, awesome. You get extra tools and resources and additional daily Q&A, and you get lifetime access to all the trainings. You want to join the CoLiving Freedom community? Awesome, right? You want additional support. You want multiple live weekly support calls. You want the step-by-step roadmap on co-living investing. Got it. You can do that. At minimum, just take advantage of all the free resources I provide you guys if you are serious about being financially free through real estate. That's my entire goal, is to help you guys on that journey. All right, with that being said, let's check out what some of these questions are, because I'm seeing a decent amount of questions, and I'll do my best to answer these. Let's see. Turn this on. As you can, some of you guys might be able to tell if you watch every week that my background and all that is different. My bookshelf is fairly empty. Things I've shifted around because I've decided to switch my office space to account for a larger area for my gym, and to ensure that I always have my walking treadmill, my walking pad always laid out in one desk, and then I can just record over on this side. So let's see what the questions are. Clayton asked about Q&A. Yeah, brother. So post your questions if you have them, and I'll answer them right now. Free to ask questions. Nonstop James asked about questions. Great. Post your questions and I'll answer them. All right. Wow, that totally bugged my face. As a real estate agent, how can I introduce to my clients, and what would be the process if someone was traditional rental wants to see how much they would earn as a code? Those are two kind of different things, Joe. You're asking, as an agent, how can you introduce your clients to co-living or to create a finance? That would help knowing which of those is what you're trying to introduce them to. And if someone has a traditional rental, wants to see how much they would earn as a co-living investment, great. I got you, brother. I literally did that video last week. So I'm going to show you right now what you would do. You can make your own version of this, right? So you go to my channel. If you're not part of it, let me drop that link. That's why I try to provide all these trainings to help you guys out, because I basically create everything around what are the questions you guys are asking me. Co-living or pass. This was the one that we did last week. You could also go to live. It was a live one, and I think it turned into a video. Yeah, there you go. The 3-step analysis. Yeah, sure. It's this video right here. So I'll drop that link for you. And I went through that. How do you even determine if a property you already own or a property you're looking at in general? So whether you're looking at a property in general or it's a deal that you want to, like you already own a property, or you're looking to decide if you should buy a property. Well, I tell you all the things that I do. I go through literally the entire process of what I consider even before I decide, is this even worth like detailed analysis? Is this in the right market? Does this have the right property characteristics? Does this have automatic no-goes for me as an investor? Do I have what I need to be able to effectively analyze it? I lay it all out there in that video. It's a whole hour dedicated to that. And I screen share and show you the analysis. It's all broken down in that training, including if I have a rental property right now, should I convert it to co-living? That's a deal analysis question. But that also starts with, deal analysis for me doesn't just start with putting numbers in a spreadsheet. It starts with considering, is this deal even worth analyzing in the first place? And I lay all that out there for you. So to answer your question, I got you covered. I just shared all those links for you for exactly how someone should consider if I have a traditional rental. Should I convert it to co-living? That's just it's a math question. And then if you want to introduce either co-living to your, you said you're a real estate agent, maybe you're on the buyer side. I don't know if you're on the buyer side, the seller side. Let's see if you've answered anything else. No, you have not. So it depends, right? If someone's selling the house, who cares about introducing them to co-living? If someone's trying to buy a property, okay, well, it's the same thing as that video. Should you even buy that property for co-living investing or not, right? And that's already in that video as well. So actually that video answers your question. If you're a buyer's agent, right, you're representing your buyers and you're trying to help them invest in co-living deals, well, you got to understand, what does it mean to invest in co-living deals? What is a good deal? How should you choose markets? All that, it's there. Plus the 3-day co-living challenge will go into that deeper as well. And if you want to convert traditional to co-living, well, there's a whole process to considering if that's even worth doing or not. And I've just laid all that out for you in that video. In terms of trying to find creative passive properties in text and drawers, is there a place to find under contract deals? Cool. Or do I use the sources and stuff too? Great. So all of the above, my friend. Clayton, I've done a training previously on, well, I've done it several times on the various ways I acquire deals, right? There's really 6 ways to acquire deals, and they fall into 3 buckets. There are direct acquisitions where I'm directly reaching out to sellers or agents for a very specific property. There are the more relational or referral-based deals where I'm establishing a presence with a real estate agent in a market, whether it was for the original deal or not, and then they're bringing me future opportunities after that. So it's like a referral-based, I've already established a relationship, so they're going to bring me future deals that somewhat hit my buy box, or establishing yourself with other investors who are decent at communicating and reaching out to prospective capital, prospective sellers and figuring out, do they want to sell? Are they open to it or not? And then you help them get across the finish line. So like, it's kind of like a joint venture. This happens a lot where someone says, hey, this could be a great co-living property. I've already talked to the seller. They want to sell it. I don't know how to structure it, whatever. Then you help them get it across the finish line and you are the one who buys it. Or the one that I do, which is the highest leverage way of acquiring deals, which is buying other people's deals under contract. I do that by buying deals from wholesalers who have them under contract already, or bird dogs who are finding those investment opportunities that are already under contract and filtering them for my buy box. And then I do the analysis and decide, do I want to buy it? Or is there opportunity to improve the deal terms and then buy it? Or is this something we just move on from? So to answer your question, is there a place to find under contract deals? You're already thinking with the right mindset, at least the way that I think, which is the form of leverage. I'm happy to pay wholesalers and bird dogs for the services that they provide, so then I can go ahead and just buy these deals with less of my effort, especially directly communicating with sellers and agents, because I got to do it on their timeline, and I'm not a fan of that. I've got total financial freedom, so why have my time dictated by other people's schedules? No, it's when I have time to analyze deals and decide what I want to buy, that's when I do it. That's why I prefer these higher leverage deals, just a better use of my time as well. So where? Yep. So you mentioned a couple great places, right? The Real Estate Freedom Roadmap community, right? That has people post deals in there. There's opportunities in there. I also teach you how to go and find these opportunities in there. Sub 2, if you're part of that community, that's the #1 place for creatively financed deals. I don't know if I can say co-living or not, but that's definitely one of the #1 places for it, whether you're in the paid community that I'm in and I'm a leader in, or you are in the free community, the free creative real estate with Pace Morby community. These are on Facebook. there's tons of Facebook groups for deals in general. There's literally one, I think it's called like Creative Co-Living Deals. So you just look that kind of stuff up, look up co-living, look up creative, and then start establishing relationships with those wholesalers, not just for that one deal that they have, but for those, not just for that one deal that they have, but for like any other opportunities that they might have available coming up, so that they know you're the go-to person for Georgia and Texas deals that are, when you're saying creative pad split, what you mean is bigger properties that have the ability to convert to make more rooms, right? So 4-bed, 3-bath, 2,000 plus square feet, creatively financed only. This is you developing your buy box. And that's a big part of the day 2 training. We're going to be doing that as part of the 3-day co-living challenge. And for my VIP guys, I have my highest level super investor mastermind community. And I give you guys our exact buy box and then exactly a full training on how to create your own very specific co-living buy box that you then share with wholesalers and bird dogs, so you get the perfect opportunities coming your way. All right, so yes, you're on the absolute right track with the way you want to buy deals, at least the way that I choose to buy the majority of my deals, and most of the major investors choose to buy their deals like this. There's obviously a trade-off, right? Then I got to pay someone for the fees, and I'm not in full control of the deal flow, right? All that kind of stuff. But why the majority of buyers choose to go this route, especially as you're growing and scaling. But yeah, so the Real Estate Freedom Roadmap community, sub 2, the free creative finance group with Pace, and then tons of other Facebook groups and all that, communities that have these kinds of investment opportunities. Oh, okay, Clayton. Why I ask is bird dogging for a couple of super investors that only want to buy deals from people in our community. There are several people targeting the same areas and they want outside of one area labeled primary cities. I'm not 100% sure. So you're saying you're bird dogging for a lot of investors that want to buy deals from people in our community. There are several people targeting the same area that they want outside of one area. I don't know what the question is per se. Oh, you're talking about the creative pad split properties. Is there a place to find? Yeah, I mean, you got to do some research, right? Go look around in all these various Facebook groups. I can go right now and show you the 20 plus that I'm part of and the relationships that I build and the meetups that I go to and the people that I network with and communicate. There's so many ways to do that. And in the Super Investors community, I have a whole cheat sheet of over a dozen or maybe 24 different groups and places to find these opportunities, as well as 20 plus wholesalers that are primarily focused on creative financing. That it just kind of gives you the immediate boost of getting dozens of deals hitting your inbox, ideally daily, well, weekly, if not daily, of these creative opportunities that can make sense for you. So that's part of my Super Investors community. I just gave you a ton of the sources as well, or I went through several of them, but it's the same practice nonetheless. Where are people posting these deals? Go find it from that area for sure. Would you recommend to a new bird dog individual to participate in the challenge or wait? I recommend every single person who is even somewhat interested in co-living, whether you already have a co-living deal, whether you don't, whether you are knowledgeable about co-living or this is your first, I recommend that you join the co-living challenge, because no matter where you're at, my goal is to help you take the next step. So if you already know the markets you want to invest in, great. Well, how do you find the perfect investment properties? Like, what do those look like? Or what is the best way to renovate and convert them to maximize your cash flow? Or if you were to buy them creatively versus traditionally, what is the trade-off and what are the benefits financially for doing so? The whole goal is that no matter where you're at in your investing journey, I want you to take one step forward, right? I think people try to go from 0 to 100 when the goal is, whether you're at 0 or 5 or 20, your goal is to just make it to the next step, one step at a time. You build this entire business by going one step at a time. That is the system behind real estate investing. Because at the end of the day, to own cash flowing assets that make you financially free, you need to buy co-living, you need to buy properties, right? You need to buy properties that will generate you cash flow. Well, that means you need to close on properties. To close on properties, you need to conduct due diligence on properties that you've already put under contract. Put properties under contract, you need to make offers on deals that you've analyzed that hit your ideal goals. Well, to decide what deals you should even decide is worth analyzing, you need to filter those deals based on your buy box, the market, the property characteristics, your no-goes, before you even waste time analyzing them to determine what deals should be filtered out. That's why you have the buy box. And that buy box is dictated by your core investment strategy, which is fundamentally tied together between where you're at right now in your investing journey, what your goals are, and then making sure your investment strategy gets you enough returns, is scalable, is accessible enough that you can actually build the portfolio of properties that you need to be financially free. So you do the same process for every single deal, and then you just keep stacking that over and over and over again for every single to build your portfolio towards financial freedom, right? It's the same process for every deal that you buy. Things change here and there, obviously, but the process is fundamentally the same, right? We just went through it just backwards. So it's imperative that you understand that and then get really good at all those steps and decide, okay, here's my strategy, here's my buy box, here's how I filter, here's how I analyze, here's when I make offers or try to renegotiate. Once under contract, here's the due diligence that I do, here's how I get my rehab quotes, here's the TCs that I use, I close on it, here's how I funded it, here's how I'm going to do the renovations, the furnishings, here's how I'm going to handle property management. If you're raising money or have other business considerations, here's how you handle your business operations. You just do that for every single deal, and you just keep stacking them deal after deal after deal, right? $1,000 a month of cash flow at a time, 1,000, then the next one gets you to 2,000, 5 later, you're at 7,000, whatever. You just keep stacking that to achieve your goals. That's why it's imperative that you understand this process and you understand it for the strategy that you want to do, because co-living does have more steps than just a simple long-term rental that you buy. So understanding that and then just taking that next step, acquiring those deals, operating them well, and then repeating it for the next one. And again, and again, and again. And every time you do it, you're supposed to get better. In theory, that's at least how I've done everything. Every time I do it, my goal is always to get better, improve my systems, build better tools, improve those tools, hire and train effectively, everything I can. So this whole process is as scalable as possible for me. So with that being said, yes, no matter what, you should go to that challenge if co-living is part of your, part of your goals. If you cannot make the challenge live, which I understand is difficult to coordinate Pacific, Central, Mountain, East Coast time zones for everyone to be able to come. I'm doing it at the lunchtime, right? Noon PST for my West Coast guys. If you cannot make that, well then, okay, maybe consider paying $47 for the VIP upgrade and getting lifetime access to all those trainings and all the bonus tools and resources that are included in there. Or maybe consider joining the Co-Living Freedom community if you're in a position where you want to buy deals and you want to level up and just make this process easier. You're literally just condensing your journey to be way faster and easier than would have been otherwise, so that you're taking on less risks, you're achieving your goals more quickly, you're getting much higher returns per deal. Typically, you're able to lower the entry cost per your deals, you're able to buy better deals. That's the whole idea. So it's worthwhile. And when you get stuck on something, you know that you have access to support. Hey, I'm not 100% confident with this analysis. What is your perspective? What do you think about this? Hey, I think I can take this 4-bedroom, make it 10 bedrooms. Okay, well, what does someone else think? What about my project manager, the one who oversees all my renovations and furnishings and then oversees the handoff to property management? That's a great perspective to validate, hey, I've got this inspection report, I've got this floor plan, I've got this quote from a contractor, here's how I plan on furnishing my rooms. All that stuff, great. You have access to all that stuff. Same with property management and operations, because you guys really love those types of questions, and I'm happy to answer them. It's just, I can answer 90% of what you need in regards to operations, but understand your business is not scalable if you're doing every single part of your properties. If I'm the one doing all the work to find the deals, analyze the deals, using my own money for those deals, all the due diligence, getting the renovation quotes, overseeing the contractors, overseeing the furnishings, doing the property management, well, that wouldn't make me very scalable as a business owner, which is why I'm very adamant about teaching you guys the right way to do it, because through a lot of my lessons learned, you get to learn how to create the right team, leverage the right resources, how to do all that, and then even get referrals to those resources that you might need if you're operating in one of our core markets. So it's up to you and where you're at in your journey. But at minimum, you should be leveraging the Real Estate Freedom Roadmap community and or the 3-day co-living challenge. The 3-day co-living challenge is better than the full Real Estate Freedom Roadmap community because it's if your goal is co-living, because it's literally all about that, laid out step by step with the various tools and resources that are there. And if you want to level up, great, you have opportunities to do that as well. Co-living seems like a management problem. Is it? Parking, tenant turnover, that's the follow-up question. Co-living can be a management problem depending on your systems. For me, I'm pretty detached from those management issues. Why? Because management is outsourced, which is what I recommend the majority of you guys to do. And for those that are not outsourced, well, you got to have the right systems in place. So you're not dealing, like every time you deal with an issue, it's not like you're reinventing the wheel every single time, right? You want to go through something. And if it's the first time you've gone through it, you want to define a process so that the next time it's easier to handle. If there's a non-paying tenant or it's a late paying tenant, and how are you going to communicate to them? If it's tenant disputes, how are you going to handle that? If it's we just had a emotional support animal, the first one that was requested to stay in our property. How do we handle that? Well, we have to create the process around that, and then we can leverage that over and over again. What about when a tenant applies, whether through pad split or not on pad split? How do you screen them, right? How do you ensure that they're an ideal tenant for your property and they hit the ideal tenant qualifications to move into your rental so they don't cause you more headache? That's a big part of it. Another big part of it is setting up your systems, including setting up your properties for maximum success. So when you say things like parking, tenant turnover, well, how do we minimize that? Well, I have rules, and I share them during the challenge for the number of parking that we need for every single property that we buy for co-living to ensure that we are minimizing as much possible issues that can occur because of parking. Well, same with tenant turnover. How do we minimize tenant turnover or minimize vacancy, right? The amount of time properties are sitting there not being rented out, or vacancy that comes from a tenant moving out. Now you got to turn it and then handle a new tenant. Well, it all starts fundamentally with the properties you're buying and then the markets you're buying them in, how you are renovating them and setting them up, both between the renovations and like, are you insulating the walls effectively to minimize noise? Are you ensuring that they have access to AC in there? How are you furnishing it? Are you doing the bare minimum because you can get away with that? Or are you doing what we do, or what we attempt to do in every single room that we have, which is really nice mattresses, queen size beds, desks with chairs in the rooms, full-length mirrors to ensure that to minimize the amount of time they need to spend in the bathroom to get ready. They can also get ready in their rooms. Things like that between renovations and furnishings. Are you setting up rooms? Are you trying to convert an area that doesn't really make a lot of sense to have a room where maybe it should have been in a different place, or you made it too small or whatever? So the way that where you buy the properties, the types of properties you buy, the way that you renovate them, and the way that you furnish them play a massive role in minimizing tenant issues that could come up. And then you should have processes and systems for when you are onboarding tenants, when they're both being screened and when they're moving in, that also further minimize tenant issues. Then you have house rules, and then you have SOPs or processes for how do you handle these common issues, concerns that could come up. How do you handle those situations so that you're doing that standardized over and over again, but you're also improving that every single time you're handling that issue, right? If you've already got the perfect answer, you don't need to ever update it, great. But if you're using the same answer every time and then you're able to enhance it slightly, great. You're improving something over and over and over again, which is ideal. Like you're improving it every time, you're making it better every single time. That's why I've created all of my tools and resources and everything that we do. I don't start with the perfect version. I start with a version and I continually update it and improve it. For those of you guys who have access to my Super Investor Calculator for 5+ years, because I created the first version of my deal analysis calculator 5 years ago, well, you've seen the massive transition to where it's at now, all the additional features and all that awesome stuff that's in there that makes every part of deal analysis and capital raising much easier. But also now the web tool that it's being developed into, like this is how you do it. You do the thing, you document it, and then you improve it over and over again. That is especially true when it comes to co-living and operations. And that is why in the Co-Living Freedom community, plus the free 3-day challenge, I try to go over a lot of this stuff to help set you guys up for success on your co-living deals. But that's why you guys in the Co-Living Freedom community get access to multiple live weekly calls to help you on areas they might be stuck, primarily deal analysis, this project management, renovations, furnishings, how to set up your properties, how to do due diligence on them, and then property operations, which primarily includes property management related stuff, right? These house rules, property management, all that kind of stuff. Cool. Let's see. They said they want to buy pad split deals from people in the community. I'm in the community, so I don't have capital to buy, but I have a mouthpiece to get homeowners that want to sell. They're open to creative. I'm in sub 2. Okay. Cool. Clayton, I hope I answered a question. If not, spit it back out to me in the form of a question, and I'll try to answer it for you. Lone asked on Instagram, which makes it a little more tough, so I will post it. Are you a pad split guy? Do you work with nonprofits or other mission-specific organizations? I do all of it. So I have properties on pad split. I have properties with property managers. I have some properties that are on pad split that we manage. So with pad split, it doesn't mean that they fully manage it, right? So there's pad split, and then after pad split, do you have a property manager or are you doing the rest of it yourself, right? We have both of those, but it's my team, right? I'm not sitting there talking to tenants and all that. That's why I've developed all this stuff, have the teams, and why I can share these resources with you guys to make your investing journey easier as well. So if you're on pad split, you still need to do self-management on the back end or property management. We have both of those. So pad split with self-management, pad split, property management. We also have just straight up property management without any pad split. We also have full management with us without property managers or pad split. A big part of that is the fact that a lot of these, when we started doing co-living like really officially and scaling in 2023, pad split already had a solid amount of properties, but nothing compared to where they're at now. They had way less properties, way less markets they operate in. And in certain markets, we already developed the perfect property management. We don't need to now go to pad split or outsource it to another property manager because my team can handle it fairly easily now, especially because the majority of the work when it comes to operating a property and managing it is that first month, right? When you get a property and you're trying to get 7 or 8 or 10 new tenants in there, that takes a lot of time and effort and work, especially after it's been renovated and furnished. So there might be little things you have to tinker around with and fix, right, during that process. Well, after that point, when you have a tenant that moves out in January and you got to replace that, you got another one that moves out in April and you got to replace it. That's not that much work to do in the grand scheme of things. It's the most difficult, that first phase where you're trying to get everything stabilized. We call that the project management phase until it's ready for like stabilized property management when it's basically filled. That takes the most time and effort. So after that point, it's like, why even go to another property manager? Why even go to pad split when we've already done the hardest part and it's full? We're just doing one tenant at a time here and there. So I hope that answered your question. For nonprofits, yep, I have nonprofits that I work with. We do work with like Oxford Homes, so like sober living home properties. We've also rented the properties out to other entities like businesses that then house their teams in there, whether it's like healthcare, construction, whatever. They house their team in there. This has occurred with military as well. And they have even a basketball team for one of our properties. This is a Puerto Rico, so it's a little different. They're not doing that to maybe the G League, but they're not doing that to NBA players in the US, that's for sure. So they house their people in there. They rent it from us as a long-term rental, essentially, and they cover their expenses and all that stuff. It's a more easy way to do it, but typically for us to manage, but typically we're generating less income than if we did it rent by the room ourselves. But it's a good trade-off because it takes less time, even though we're making less money. That return on time is really solid. That's not always the case. It's very property specific, and a big reason why Pace dubbed me the super investor, even though I thought it was a little cringe, was because of the fact that my biggest advantage isn't that I'm the best expert on traditional loans or seller financing or mortgage methods or cash deals, or I'm the best at, co-living management or Oxford nonprofit homes or midterm rentals. That's not what it's about. It's about having various tools in your tool belt to acquire these deals. Some people might say I'm the best, but I'm really freaking good at acquiring deals a variety of ways. Creatively, whether it's sub 2, seller finance, hybrid, so it's both of them, mortgage method, where it's a new loan plus seller financing, whether it's an invoice authorization, which is similar to a mortgage method, but just done a little bit differently. I'm not going to get into the weeds of that, but it's kind of a similar concept. Or I'm buying something to do the burst strategy. So I'm buying it cash, renovating it, putting long-term debt. I'm buying it with a DSCR loan. I don't buy cash unless I know I'm going to exit that quickly, so it's a flip, or we're going to do a burr strategy, so cash is a little disingenuous in that because it doesn't make a lot of sense for my ideal strategy and for the variety of ways to manage our properties. I'm not over the last, we bought our last, it was either late 24 or early 25. We bought our last non-co-living deal, and I'm not buying any more non-co-living deals unless it is larger assets, but that's because that's where I'm at in my investing journey. I'm not wasting time and energy on long-term, midterm, or short-term rentals. They don't make sense regardless of how good the returns seem on paper. We're so good at co-living and it's very scalable, and typically we get more money per co-living deal and get it more consistently than any other strategy. So it's about, okay, in the niche of co-living, what do we do? Right? Well, we do the, like I mentioned, the pad split model. We do property managers. We do some self-management. We do these Oxford Homes or other nonprofits. We do master leases to an entity that wants to rent out the whole house and then sub-rent it out to their own tenants. Typically, they're paying all the costs and then letting them stay there. They're not really renting it and then re-renting it. We actually haven't had that. I don't. That would be more like an arbitrage, and we don't really do that. We don't really allow for that. If anyone's going to do it, we might as well just do it at that point. Cool. So hopefully that answered your question. Let me see. What other questions do I got? All right. All right, cool. There's one more that says, all right, this is a great place to leave it because it's SOPs, and that's a nice, boring way to finish it out. I'm just kidding. As someone who does a lot of, engineering stuff, SOPs and systems and all that is valuable. But all right, we've created a very detailed SOP to prepare ourselves to scale the business. 9 different documents with too many pages on it. So I'm different than most. As an engineer, I know my biggest weakness is I will, what they say, right? Measure twice, cut once. That's great. But the problem with a lot of engineers in practice, a lot of people are more scientifically minded, more cautious, more risk averse, right? And that tends to be those that are more engineering minded, science minded, just roughly, right? Just kind of how it falls. You get something known as paralysis by analysis. You spend so much time trying to understand everything about everything, plan for every operational concern, develop every SOP, whatever, before just doing the damn thing. So I know that is a big weakness of mine. So I try to not create any processes. I create a very simple outline or framework for what needs to get done. Like I said, for real estate investing, investment strategy, buy box, use that to filter, analyze those deals. If I analyze it, do I want to buy it as is? Do I want to renegotiate it? Do I want to move on from it? Put under contract, the due diligence process, right? Creating the new LLC, inspections, reviewing that, renovation quotes, furnishing. What is it going to be our shopping list? How much is that going to cost us? Can we get our local team ready to go? Getting the funding for those deals, closing on those deals, renovating them, furnishing them, getting them listed with property management, getting them stabilized with property management, and then handling investor relations. I'm doing all that successfully. I'm buying properties that are making $2,000+ a month over and over again, and I'm handling and taking care of my partners as effectively as possible. That was what I needed as a rough outline, right? Just some of the key concepts. And then over the last several years, I build it out deeper and deeper and deeper. I even right now, we're actively doing that, right? We're defining the processes better. We're putting video Loom links associated with it as we grow and scale further so that we can have team members handle some of these concepts, handle some of these tasks without myself or some of my lead team members being the bottleneck. So what I'm trying to answer your question with, it sounds like, I don't know where you're at in your investing journey, but it sounds like what you've done is you're focusing so much more on the prep as opposed to the doing. And the best way you're going to improve is not theoretically optimizing an SOP that you wrote or any of that kind of stuff. It is focused on doing the thing, utilizing it, doing it, and then updating it from there. It's not about creating a perfect SOP and then executing on it. It's about creating the basic frameworks, doing it, and then improving your SOPs from there. Your SOPs, for me, your standard operating procedures, are living, breathing documents. They are not something that is definitive in how you're going to do everything. They are the outline of the framework, and then you are continually building and improving on it to then make it match what actually makes sense as you get more knowledge and experience. Because I could have created the perfect SOPs 5 years ago, what I would have thought were the perfect SOPs, but just around 5 years ago, My goal was buy 5 properties in 5 years. Well, I've bought 20 plus, almost, I think, over $30+ million of real estate in that same amount of time frame. So the SOPs that I would have spent a year or two on or whatever to develop that would have been perfect meant nothing, because as I was taking action, I was saying, hey, I don't want to do any more short-term rentals. I don't want to do long-term rentals. If I do co-living, here's what we've learned to improve that process. Well, instead of using my own money or using only traditional financing, I'm going to use creative financing. When I use creative and it looks like this, here's how I'm going to analyze it effectively and how I'm going to renegotiate it. Here's how I'm going to raise capital for those deals. Well, the reality of it is there was no perfect way to define all that when I had less knowledge and experience 5 years ago. I gave myself the general framework for buying deals, and I continually focus on optimizing this process. And I've shared a lot of this stuff on YouTube and in the Real Estate Freedom Roadmap community. And I think it's getting touched on during the 3-day challenge as well. If not, I'll put that in there, the property acquisitions blueprint. That is more so what I talk about when I do one of my super investor webinars, but I'm not really trying to grow that thing very much. It's a much more smaller group, mastermind community. We add 1 to 3 people a quarter who are serious investors, whether you already have solid real estate investing experience, even as a wholesaler, flipper, bird dog, we have solid experience, even as a capital partner, or as a real estate investor yourself, whether it's co-living or not, right? Either you have experience or you have at least $100,000 in reserves, so you can just fast track your ability to building a portfolio, gaining that experience. That's what that community is designed for. And my job there is to give you the step-by-step roadmap, tools, and resources to help you start and or massively scale your real estate investment portfolio to build that financial freedom portfolio. But I do that less frequently, right? Once a quarter, once every 6 months, trainings on that topic, because it's less applicable than something like this, focusing specifically on co-living, where a lot of you guys maybe need to focus on active income, or you want to just be passive, right? Or maybe you're not in a position in which you can join super investors. Great. Well, let me provide you low cost or free trainings, tools, and resources to help you get to that point where it's a no-brainer to upgrade and join super investors. When I do those, that's when I share I go through that full roadmap. We call it the super investor operating system, systems and processes for deals, for capital, and operations, because that's what you need. That's all you need for real estate. If you have ever seen my real estate investing triangle, right? Deals and capital is all you need to own properties, and your operations is what allows you to successfully generate cash flow and build wealth. So you need all three to successfully generate cash flow and wealth. You only need deals and money to actually own assets. Operations is what makes you actually financially successful, right? Cash flow and wealth building. Cool. So I don't know if that's where you're at, my friend. However, SOPs, get yourself an outline. I think 9 pages of 9 different outcomes with too many pages on it. I think it's just too much. And the problem with AI now is everyone feels like they're creating shit, but all you're doing is you're creating stuff through AI and you don't even understand it. You don't embody it. An SOP doesn't matter that you have words on a paper. It matters, are you actually going to utilize this thing? Is this actually the process you will follow that you understand? And are you continually updating it? When you have AI, for example, spit out a 20-page SOP and it knows nothing about you, your business, how you operate, and you don't know how to utilize the stuff that it's saying or what gaps that it's missing, great, you have it, but it's not actually benefiting you as much as just getting the rough framework and then executing on that and then developing your own over time instead of trying to develop the perfect thing up front versus long term. Rebecca wants to know about capital raising. I don't know. I know one of your main resources for your deals are creative deals, so you have less to raise in capital. However, can you take a little bit about how to structure PML deals as far as what returns a PML might be looking? So I go over this really in depth, my friend. So we're out of time today. I'm going to talk about that next week as well during the free 3-day co-living challenge. But I talk about that a lot. If you just go to my YouTube, I've got several videos on capital raising, like tons of them. So this one's even called the exact capital raising framework behind my, wow, it's awesome, behind my $25 million portfolio. So it's a little outdated, but not by much. So there you go. It's literally there for you. I'll drop the link for you to utilize. All right, my friends, I appreciate you guys. I will see hopefully a lot of you guys during the Co-Living Freedom Challenge. I'm going to drop the link one final time if you would like to join us next week at the Co-Living Freedom Challenge. And what we will be going over is right? So you can learn more about it, what we're doing, free 3-day co-living freedom challenge. We're going to go over why co-living is the best investment strategy and help you develop your financial freedom roadmap and timeline, finding co-living markets and properties that work, and then analyzing co-living deals and making smart offers. I'm also sharing tons of tools and resources I've developed or I use within my business to answer all these questions that you will be utilizing over and over again in your investing journey. This is your step-by-step roadmap for doing so, at least to get you this far along. And if you want to join VIP because you can't make it live, awesome. It's only $47. You get 30 minutes of Q&A every single day, private for VIP. You get lifetime access to all of these trainings, tools, and resources. Plus, you get a lot of extra tools and resources, including the Super Investor Co-Living Calculator, which has a renovations and furnishings checklist to make that process easier for you. So with that being said, if y'all want to join that, I'll gladly see you there. All right, friends.